SciFi Surprize Series 2013. I think there's only going to be a 2013. Wrap up! Wrap up! Wrap it up! Tie it with a pretty bow. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm here to share the wrap-up experience of the SciFi Surprize Series, working my way through the 50 films in the science fiction collection. Now, I did not make that. I got through 42, and I ended on Ega, and Ega was the last film in the last disc. It was the last film on the second side of the last disc. It was like side B of 12, number 2. I'm like, okay. I watched that right at the end of December. I'm like, that's a sign. That's a sign. So I'm good with that. Now, the inspiration to do this challenge was two things. One, to work my way through all of these films, but also just the idea was to watch more science fiction. So that's interesting because out of the 42 films I saw, guess how many were science fiction? 27. 27 out of 42 ain't so great. That means 15 of the films were not science fiction. That's a fair amount of films to watch that aren't science fiction. And then from that, I also went and looked and thought, I wrote down, I had a list, big long list. I wrote down all the titles of the ones that I watched. And then I wrote down, you can't see that because I need it bright enough, but anyway. But then I wrote down whether or not I remembered them. And I had a pretty good retention level at 37. 37 films out of 42. I thought that was not bad. But it is kind of alarming that 5 I couldn't recall what movies they were, especially since I've done vlogs on them. So that was just cold. That wasn't referring to a note or a picture or anything. Just by the title. Couldn't. And then, out of those 37, I thought, I went through and said how many were worth watching. And I came up with 23. That's not so awesome either. 23 out of 42, that's like half-ish, right? Half plus 2. That's not great. But, you know, I discluded anyone I couldn't remember, and if they were good, then they'd just lose out on that. So anyway, so those are some weird numbers for you. I also thought I'd share, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to share my favorites, which ones I thought were the best, the worst, the weird in between, as well as some thoughts on the experience as a whole. So those are the numbers. Here are the lists. So the best, and I guess these are actually the best and not my favorites, but whatever. Favorites was too much. You just get too muddy. So anyway, the third best science fiction movie was Phantom Planet. Really liked this one. I watched this one late in the series, and it was a lot of fun. It was, someone was sent to investigate disappearing people, and there was all this cool sort of forced perspective type stuff and really interesting ideas, and it was a little bit out there, but this is actually really what I thought the majority of the films would be like. Boy, was I wrong. Second best film was Voyage to the Planet of the Prehistoric Woman. This one really surprised me. I didn't anticipate liking it at all. I watched it before Planet of Prehistoric Women. It's actually half footage from that, and then some other additional footage, or Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet. That's what it was. There's Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet, and this is a weird sort of sequel, kind of, but not really. So, but this one I loved. I loved it more than Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet because the prehistoric women were awesome. They were like psychic, although they couldn't talk. The amount of times the women in these films couldn't talk or were trying to be reanimated or something like that or controlled was ridiculously high. If I did that ratio, I'd probably be annoyed I even did this. Anyway, keeping it happy. The best science fiction film in this collection of the 42 I saw was easily The Brain Machine. This movie was so good that I kept on hoping something else would live up to it, and nothing did. And it was only the 10th film I saw. So that's kind of sad, because I was really hoping, oh yeah, maybe it'll be more like The Brain Machine. Nope, it was a one-of. It's a 1977 awesome, pretty hard science fiction. Sort of, I think of it in the vein of sort of the Andromeda Strain. It was so good I was surprised I hadn't even heard of it before. So, talk about crazy, eh? So those are the best science fiction films, and then I have these all in my like little envelope Wow, it's really hard to share. There we go. And so now the top 3 non-science fiction films were... I need theme music. Number 3, Blood Tide with James Earl Jones. This is a supernatural film, but it was awesome. Another early pick. It was only the 5th one I had seen. It was from 1982, much later. But it was not science fiction. It was a supernatural movie with ritual and all that kind of goodness. And where was it? I'm trying to remember. It was set in Greece. It was gorgeous. Really gorgeous. Some of the acting was horrid, but it was really good. Other than that. Second best non-science fiction film was Giants of Rome. Oh my gosh, this was really late in the game, 29th. Feels late in the game because I watched it, I think, after I moved. Oh no, that was before I moved. I put really liked it at the top. Julius Caesar orders a small group to end, oh my god, end pagans and, it looks like dust weeping Claudius Legionnaire. No, I can't read my own writing, something like that. Anyway, it was really good. And then the best non-science fiction film, and this might have slid into the land of favorites, was Laser Mission. Oh my god, way back in the day, Laser Mission was the first selection. It has Brandon Lee in it. It's actually really just feels like a bad action movie from the 80s, even though it's from 1990, and there's no science fiction elements whatsoever, but it was a lot of fun, and it started off the whole thing. So I don't, you know, when you get into these ones, what's the best movie is kind of, like, it's all subjective, but in this case it's really subjective. But then I'm also going to share the worst, because there were some horrible, horrible ones, and I'm adding one extra. So the 4th worst film, and this is all of them, science fiction or not, the 4th worst film was The Wild Women of Wallgo. I was so offended. This was the race of beautiful women and not so beautiful and brutish men, and then on the other side of the island was the beautiful men and the not so beautiful women. It was just offensive on every level and didn't make a lot of sense. And then 3rd worst was the Astral Factor. This is also from the 70s. This is one of those really just harsh 70s thing. It is science fiction though. The guy becomes invisible, I think, and it's a crime thriller, so a lot of creative editing because he's invisible. But it was just horrible. It was really just like it felt like Dirty Harry kind of bad. Not bad, like intensity of the violence and stuff like that. I don't like it. 2nd worst, The Atomic Brain. This is actually the worst science fiction one. I hated this one, although it's really more horror. It's about an old lady who hires maids from abroad so she can transfer herself into their body. But she hires a selection so she can have choice. Yeah. Okay, and then the worst was The Prehistoric Woman. This one was just... it was just horrible, and the quality was horrible. The quality wasn't bad on most of them. It was fine. This is one of the only ones where there were some scenes you just really couldn't see, and there was one that had a weird clicking sound that was really annoying. But other than I can't. Wow, my handwriting's so small. Yeah, it was horrible. For me, gender stuff always is going to throw it out the window, but they also were really bad films. And then there's sort of like this weird in-between section of movies that are just kind of like, I'm glad I saw them, kinda, but I don't know what they have to do with science fiction. Well, that's not true. They are science fiction. This one, Galaxy Invader, like, not a good movie. It was really, really low. You can also tell because they didn't redo the card, even though that's an absolutely horrible drawing. I don't even know what it is. It's a low budget, I'd even almost go as far to say hobbyist film, because I don't think any of the actors are professional. But it's a riff, it's Swamp Thing. Basically, it's someone, it felt like someone saw Swamp Thing, wanted to make it, and then did. Like, it's very, very close to Swamp Thing. Although, it did inspire me to buy Swamp Thing, so it did have an effect on me. I have to watch that, too. One of the other ones, this one I'm really glad I saw it. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. It was a lot of fun. It's really stupid. Like, there's no denying it, but it's just one of those weird cult-ish weird bad movies that I'm glad I saw. So hey, and I had a real fun time doing that title card. Also, The Wasp Woman. Now, technically, this is a science fiction film, but it would definitely also classify as horror. But it actually really is a good movie. Like, it just was a lot better than a lot in terms of the quality of the film and the acting and the story and stuff like that. I thought, wow, yeah, I enjoyed it, you know, and it was creepy, and it was really well done. So it's just sort of, because I really think of it more as horror, it just, I put it in the science fiction world, but, like, when I separate all the titles out, but there's just something really special about that. And last up, in the weird, the she-gods of Shark Reef. Like, science fiction? No. But one of the weird things that I did realize I quite enjoyed throughout this challenge was there were a lot of beach movies. And some of them were horrible, like Prehistoric Woman is technically a beach movie because it's on an island, but it's horrible and offensive. She-gods of Shark Reef, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed watching it. I think it's one of the few ones I actually watched it again the next day. So, there you go. Those are the best and the worst and the weird. And now I have a few questions for myself. I like to do these after challenges to reflect back and see whether or not, like, was it worth it? You know, what did I don't know. I just do them. So, okay, here they are. Okay, did you achieve the goal? Did I achieve the goal? Yes and no. Did I see all 50 films? No. Did I watch more science fiction? Yes. Do I feel like I saw enough of these films to enjoy this selection? Yeah, I'm good with that. So I'm going with yes and no, but what can you say? It is yes and no. But I'm happy, what was it? What was the exact? Did I achieve the goal? I'm happy with the result, is my answer to that. What did you learn? One of the things I learned was to follow my own instincts. I am a completist by nature, or by conditioning, I don't know. But in this case, some of the films, there was like 5 or 6 Hercules movies, and I was like, well, they could be science fiction, and no, none of them were. Like, Hercules versus the Moon Men, it is, but you know, it has moon men, so you think maybe. The rest, no, they're not at all. So, and a lot of the ones where, like the Wild Woman of Wallgo and Prehistoric Woman, you know, the chances of me liking a movie like that are very low. So I feel I would have, you know, some of those I felt I could have turned off and just been like, whatever. So I learned the fact that I can trust my own instincts on stuff like that because I never got to the end of the movie and was like, oh, that was so worth it. The only one that breaks the mold on that is the Voyage to the Planet of the Prehistoric Woman, but it was clear very early on that I would enjoy it. So, trust your instincts. I will trust my instincts, and you trust yours. Was it what you expected? No. To be honest, I was expecting a lot more 50s, 60s science fiction, black and white, in space, going to planets movies. Now, there were some movies like that, including the Rocky Jones and the Buck Rogers, but they ended up being very theatrical, and like in terms of, like, they felt like theater, like Hammer horror kind of feel, but science fiction. And then there were a bunch of Italian ones that were very science fiction-y that I had never heard of or knew anything about. So it wasn't what I expected in that sense at all. And then there were also a lot of movies that I don't know, like there's probably like maybe 4 movies out of the whole thing that felt like what I was going to be seeing, which is like really low. And that takes us to, was it worth it? And I'm going to say, yeah, it was worth it. I was going to do these in different order. Crap. Sorry. Spoilers for 2 minutes from now. Wow, so bright. Would you do it again? Would I do it again? I wouldn't do a challenge for a whole year again. So much has happened for me this year. If you can see, I'm in a different space. I have a different channel. Planet Shannon is my new channel. I used to be on Movie Moxie. That used to be my site, my everything, and so I've changed that. I've changed departments. A lot has happened this year. A lot of things have changed this year. So I wouldn't go into a year-long challenge again. I don't think 50 is a lot of anything. So I think I'm more like to do things for either like a month or 3 months. More than that, life can change too much. I was happy that I got on back on track with this after I took a long break when my mom was sick and when she passed away. Obviously, took time off, and so that just sort of changed my perspective on, you know, I guess on everything. So to commit to anything for that long a period of time just isn't necessarily something that I would do. So, because we never know how much time we have. So, but that being said, was it worth it? I would say yes, it was worth it. I had a lot of fun. Were all the films science fiction? No. Were they all good? No. Did I know that going in? No. Like, I thought they would be science fiction mostly, but you know, I did have a lot of fun. I had a lot of laughs. The only thing is, it did take up most of my movie watching time. So, like for films that I watch at home, so I didn't see, like, even though I got Netflix and stuff like that, mostly when I sat down to watch a movie, I was going to sit down and watch something from the collection. So my to watch or owned and seen list, you know, has grown and all of those things. So, and I have a horror collection. I'm like, I think I can reach it. I actually have a horror collection, and I considered just going straight through to the horror one. Now, this one I've actually seen at least 8 or 11 of them. I can't remember of them. But, you know, I think it's too much to go right from one thing to another. I think it's good to take some time and reflect a little more even on what the experience was like and what I got out of it. So, and then what was good, and then take the good part, bring it forward. The things that weren't as good, see if there's any way to mull them over. I love the aspect of surprise. I love pulling the names out of the hat, not knowing what I was going to watch. It was great to chat with people about so many of the films, and I know some people have been with me right from the beginning, and that's really, really means a lot to me that people really have enjoyed watching the vlogs and the reviews of the experience. And although I don't know if anyone has watched any of the movies or not, or been inspired to watch any of the movies from my reviews, probably not. I would say most of them probably, like, I went through and said how many would I recommend, and it was like a very low number. But it's hard to say because not everyone watches a movie for the same reason. I know for me, I think one of the reasons why I like B-movies and science fiction and stuff like that is not the same reasons as other people. And older movies, I like a bit more. There were some real gems in here that had some really great acting, like Bride of the Gorilla and Moon of the Wolf. Like, they had really good actors in them. And now when we get a B-movie with a big name that everyone knows, they may not necessarily be a really good actor, but that's the thing, they may not be a good actor. So in older movies we can get the good acting. I relished any good acting in any of these movies. I was just like, oh, yay. So anyway, I got totally off topic there. I had this thing about what I was going to do next, but obviously I don't know. I wanted to wrap up this awesome experience, and you know, it was very much a very centered part of my 2013, and as we look ahead, or now are already in 2014, I don't know what's ahead. I don't know what my channel's going to be like. I don't know what I'm going to be reviewing. I don't know what I'm going to be watching. It's really weird not to know what I'm going to be watching next, although it's kind of exciting too. So stay tuned. I'll of course be, you know, making more videos, but I have no idea what they will be about. And hopefully that will be a fun adventure as well. So thank you to everyone, especially all those folks that have been watching with me throughout or jumped in at any point. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your comments and your support and energy on this crazy challenge. I did it! Woo! I'm marking it as I did it. Gold star! Gold star! Thanks so much for watching.